The blessing of a panic attack. I'm speaking from personal experience here. I know this subject very well. I'm very intimate familiarity with this subject. I've gone through it myself, many panic attacks, many, to the point where they are debilitating, incapacitating, and they make you suicidal, right? I even I came very close one time. It was the worst one that I've ever had, and that was a point in my life that set me on a trajectory that enhanced my life in ways that you can't even imagine. It fundamentally changed the way that I viewed myself and viewed the world, and it was sort of a spiritual opening, so to speak, because that's really the only way to deal with it when it's that bad, right? Now, you know, if you are watching this and you're struggling with panic attacks or you just had a panic attack for the first time, let me tell you, I understand. Oh God, I understand. I understand how frightening it is. It is terrifying, right? Terrifying. You just people that have never had them, they don't understand that it's literally as if the world is coming to an end. That it is just pure doom, right? Doom, impending doom. And for you can't even explain it because there's nothing happening, right? You're sitting you might be sitting in a chair or, just chilling on a couch, you were watching a movie or you were out with friends or you're not in any danger, right? You're not in any danger whatsoever, but your mind is screaming that you are in peril, right? That it's all about to end. It's literally all about to end. And you are hyperventilating, your alarm system is going off, fight or flight mode on steroids. You can't think, you sometimes you can't even move, and everything in you resists it, right? You resist this feeling. You resist the sick, just like you feel like you're gonna die, right? You resist that because you have to fight that. You feel like if you don't fight it, if you don't resist it, then it's all over, you know, that you will die. And the thought that I would always have was, oh my God, what if this happens again? What if this keeps happening? I can't take this, right? I can't take this. I can't take this happening continuously. Your mind starts to project into the future. When you're in a panic attack, you start to project that you don't ever think that it'll end, right? You don't know where the end point is. You don't know how this could stop. And you don't know what to do because everything that you try to do to make it better just makes it worse. You fighting it, you sort of, every sort of, you basically, it's like a seize up. You're trying to push yourself away from it, right? It's kind of that movement, kind of in your body. You're trying to push it back. It just makes it worse. It just makes it worse. And you start to think into the future, well, if I don't know how to solve this, and this could just keep happening, I can't deal with this. This is just no way to live a life. I can't possibly face daily life like this. I can't even function, you know? I'm struggling to survive here. And we all have different things that trigger a panic attack. Mine were thought-based. They were usually thoughts around my identity, existential thoughts, thoughts that sort of shook my reality. They shook sort of my assumptions of my reality, right? They fundamentally broke it. And when that happens, I always felt in such extreme, I felt a lack of control to a point where I lost it, My mind just couldn't take it. I just thought it was the end. I would think certain things and I would think, oh, I've thought something and I've figured out something that human beings aren't supposed to figure out. And because I've figured this out, because I've sort of thought things about myself, and this is so difficult to deal with, a human being can't stomach this realization. They just can't deal with these fundamental sort of existential, cracks of their identity. And looking back on it, I'm not really sure that it was so much the thoughts themselves. It was my physiology, like my biology. There's something about you. There's something about like your sort of how your mind has been shaped in your life, things that you've gone through, and now your physiology is sort of set in a way where if you feel, if it could be any trigger. It could be an emotion. It could be something bad going on in your life. It could be just nothing going on. Like nothing bad is happening, but there's just an emotional buildup for whatever reason. Like you're just sitting, chilling. You're not really thinking anything, but then there's a sensation, right? There's this sensation of like, something's wrong. And then it just builds and builds and builds and builds, and you have no idea why. Or it could be something that's stems from things that happen in your life. You're stressing out about this, you're stressing out about that. Different things just kind of pile on all at once, and then it forms into a panic attack, and it's just like too much thinking, right? As a person who's never taken a pill for this, and I struggled with this for quite a while, and it was years. It was years. I had my first one when I was a teenager, when I was like 19 or 20, and then, they kind of didn't really have another one until I was like 27 or something, and then that was the bad one. That was the one that changed, that I knew that I had to change something, or I was probably just gonna get addicted to drugs or kill myself or something like that, because it was so bad. But I never took a pill. I never took a pill. I never took any prescription drugs for this. I never took anything for it, because I knew that wasn't the answer. I knew that I was given everything to feel good and be healthy by God, right? Or by the universe or whatever. From birth, this is all I need, right? My body and food, water, that's all I need to feel good. That's all anybody needs to feel good. You weren't brought in this world with some sort of pill deficiency, and now you need to take a pill to deal with your stuff, right? Any sort of pill is just a form of escape, and you're not actually dealing with the root cause of your panic attacks, right? And that's vital. That's vital. You're having panic attacks for a reason, and the only way for you to get better fundamentally, and for you to not have panic attacks anymore, is you need to engage with why you are having them. You need to do some introspection. You need to do some real work into yourself and figure out why. What is the cause of it? This is telling you something. It is signal, right? You're having these because there is something fundamentally wrong with the way that you are thinking, or your physiology or something like that. Not an imbalance. There's no it's not some sort of neurotransmitter imbalance in your brain, right? It is it is something about you. It's probably the way that you are viewing your world. It's your perception, right? It's your perception. And I do think there are things that you could be that can give you sort of chronic stress, right? Chronic stress doesn't help. Things can really, stress you out over time. Chronic stress, you need to eliminate sort of your sources of chronic stress. Um, but easier said than done. The only way to deal with a panic attack, if you're having reoccurring panic attacks, or you're wondering how do I get through these things, I'll tell you what I did. And let me tell you, let me first just warn you that if you had a panic attack, you're likely going to have another one, unfortunately. These are things that this is a certain pattern now. It's an energy pattern within your body. And it's going to keep reoccurring, right? Until you have sort of transcended what you need to transcend, until you've addressed the fundamental issue, until you've gotten better in the ways that you're supposed to get better. You're likely going to have another one and another one and another one. You're going to deal with this, right? The key to panic attacks is, and this is easier said than done, right? The way you do this is not what you're probably thinking. You have to surrender. You have to literally let it happen. And I know that sounds completely counterintuitive. It sounds like how everything in your mind when you're going through a panic attack is screaming, don't let this happen. Resist, fix, run from, escape it, numb it, just stop it. You need to stop the panic attack now. That's what your mind is screaming at you. Unfortunately, the only way for it to subside and for it to stop, you just got to let it happen, right? And this is an art form. This is not as easy as you might first think. Because a lot of people, when their panic attack comes up, they try to surrender. They try to let it happen. There is no try in this. It's an absence of trying. It's an absence of effort. That is true surrender, right? It's literally just being like, I can't do anything. Okay, whatever happens, happens. And you don't indulge it. You don't indulge the panic attack. You don't resist it. You don't label it as bad. You don't say, oh my God, this is so bad. I need to stop this immediately, right? You don't say, oh my God, it's happening again. The last one I kind of got over, but now it's happening again. I must, why does this keep happening? You can't be thinking that it's bad, right? You can't be labeling it as bad. If you label it as bad, it's going to get worse. I know that it's extremely difficult because when it's flaring up in you, it's like, oh, the sickness, the heat, the overwhelming just doom, just it's just, you're dying, right? But speaking from personal experience, as a person who no longer has panic attacks, knock on wood, because they could always come back, right? I haven't had one for a very long time, although I have sort of moments where my anxiety can flare up a bit, but I've gotten so good at just, you know, I just kind of know what to do now. And so they don't really, it's kind of like a little flare and then just kind of gone. And that's very rare, that's very rare. I almost never have them anymore. Even, flare-ups. I almost never have those. And I don't have panic. I can't remember the last time I had an actual panic attack. It's been years. Oh, I remember. Yeah. A year. Or, no, 2 years? 3 years? 3 years. 3 years, yeah. But, man, I really want to help people who are struggling with panic attacks because, man, I know this. I know it so well. I know it so well. I have an intimate knowledge of panic attacks, man. Whew. They are no fun. I wouldn't wish them on my worst enemy. They are awful, awful. And you should be able to sense that I know, like, I've gone through it because everything that I'm saying right now is true, right? You know it. If you've been through a panic attack, everything that I'm saying right now, you're like, yeah, he knows, Panic attacks they're trying to teach you something. They are a blessing because they are trying to tell you that there is something wrong, and it's your way, it's your opportunity. It's your opportunity to get better. Now, for me, what I had to do is the only way that I got through it was I had to find sort of a spiritual way of thinking, right? You have to detach. Usually panic attacks stem from a super entrenched sort of identification with your mind or your body. You identify with your emotions, you identify with your thoughts, instead of noticing that there's a space where your thoughts occur, there's a space where your emotions occur that is noticing all of this stuff is happening, right? And it really does kind of tie into like sort of Buddhism, Zen, all the spiritual stuff, yada, yada. I went down that entire road. I went through all that stuff, and because that's what I needed at the time. And I do recommend that you go through that because that is crucial to getting through this. You need to loosen your identification with the thoughts in your mind. You need to loosen your identification with the emotions in your body, your physical body, because they are not you, right? You are the undercurrent of that. You have to sort of recognize that there's a depth to you. This is a chance for you to recognize that there is a vast depth to you. Anxiety and panic attacks can really help you notice that there is a vast depth to you, that if you notice it, then you can really get better at not feeling anxious, at not having panic attacks. But it's easier said than done. This is a difficult process. This is a difficult process. It took me definitely a few, I want to say it took me 6 months to a year to really understand the art form of having to deal with a panic attack. You really do have to, like, you got to feel it out. It's a feeling, right? You gotta kind of just it's almost like you just kind of lean into it. You just kind of feel it. It's not, you don't think it. You don't think this. It's an art form. You have to feel what to do. You have to feel your surrender, right? You have to feel the letting go, right? It's very delicate. It's very subtle, right? This is a very delicate, subtle thing. And the more you do it, right? You're going to have more panic attacks probably. The more you do it, the more you kind of hone your craft and you get better, you know? And there will be times where you just feel like you're not getting better at all. And, you know, it just seems like it's one panic attack after another. And one was worse than the last one. And you're going to have some ups and downs. It's going to be difficult. But I promise you, if you start to sort of recognize that there is space, right? That you are not these thoughts, that you cannot indulge or resist any sort of thoughts or patterns of thought that give you anxiety, that give you this panic attack. You know, it's from that identification with it. It's from that indulging it or that resisting difficult thoughts. It's from indulging or resisting difficult emotions in your body. If you just let it happen, just let them be, right? That really does help. That is the only way through. That is the only way where your panic attack will then start to, it goes up and then you start to feel like, okay, it's coming down. It's like it was boiling and now it's kind of just, you turn the heat off and now it's kind of just, and you can get it back to room temperature eventually, right? But that really is the key. There is no, I just strongly do not recommend pills for this stuff. You know, unless you feel like that is your only option, which I went through really bad stuff, really bad panic attacks where I was panicking in my sleep. Actually, that was probably my worst one when I was a teenager. First panic attack that I ever had. I was laying on my bed. I was just reading some like textbook for college. And it was in the middle of the day, in the middle of summer. Just nothing was going on. Out of nowhere. Out of nowhere, just impending doom. I thought the world was ending, right? I thought I was ending. I thought I was going to die. There was no reason, but it was just this emotional energy, right? There's just this field of energy in the body. And I was like what? That lasted for about a week and I was panicking in my sleep. I couldn't even get relief. I was panicking all throughout the day. I was losing my mind all throughout the day. I was barely sane. Trying to keep myself from losing it. I would have to go on vast like exercise runs. I would have to run and just run and run because I felt like that was the only way I could get rid of this buildup of energy that I just was just killing me, right? And that didn't even do that. I mean, it did something a little bit. It helped me relax a little bit, but it doesn't really fix it. And then I would panic in my sleep. It would literally be in my sleep and I would be having a panic attack in my sleep. Panicking in my dreams. And then I wake up and then I'm panicking. And it's like, I literally thought I was losing my mind. I literally thought I was losing my mind. I was like, I'm done. I guess there's just, you know, I guess I'm just going to be in a mental institution. I literally thought I was going to be in a mental institution. I was like, okay, this is it. Like, I'm done. So trust me, I've been there, right? And I never took a pill. I never took one pill. I never went to the doctor. I never consulted a therapist. I did it all myself. I worked through all of it myself. And I'm here to tell you, you can too. And that's the way that this actually will transform you and make you better. This is a huge opportunity. It's a huge blessing in disguise, right? I know it seems like a curse, but it is a blessing. It will allow you, it will force you, if you let it, if you engage with it and don't numb it or distract it or try to escape it, it will transform you and let you and make you a more sort of, I guess, spiritually inclined person, a deeper person, a person with depth, right? You will forever be grateful for this happening to you, because it will set you on a path of real good stuff, right? It will change you for the better if you let it. But you just gotta let it happen. Like that Tame Impala song. It's my favorite song. All right, that's it. That's the video.